Hello, and welcome once again to the cars of Grand Theft Auto. Now, last week we talked about the Faction, a car from GTA 4 that might be returning in GTA 5 as part of the Low Life DLC. And it got me thinking, there have been a lot of cars in Grand Theft Auto over the years that Rockstar could easily add as DLC. Which is why today, I've decided to do a little countdown of vehicles I would like to see return to GTA 5 in the form of downloadable content. But before I begin, I need to set a few ground rules. First, all cars must be available to purchase from the in-game websites, that being Southern San Andreas Super Autos and the Legendary Motorsport. Second, all cars must receive performance upgrades, engine, turbo, and transmission. And lastly, all cars must be fast enough to compete in online racing. Also, there are 4 specific details I'll be sure to mention, that being what car class they go into, how much I believe they will cost, I'll try to be fair, the performance, and any visual customizations I could think of. With that out of the way, let's begin. So at number 10, we have the Fortune. Ever since its debut back in San Andreas, this car has often been portrayed as an average vehicle, one that anybody could pick up and drive, and for that reason, I've decided to suggest it. For its car class, I picked Coupes, because it's 2-door. For its price, $25,000. In terms of performance, I believe it should be up there with the Zion. As for its visual customization, I believe it should just be basic. And when I say basic, I mean wheels, windows, paint, lights, and license plate. That's it. At number 9, we have the GTA 3 Bobcat. I'll be honest, out of all the incarnations of this vehicle, this one is easily my favorite. Sure, it didn't have the greatest handling in the world, but it was still pretty good for what it was. I also really like the modern day styling. Kinda surprised Rockstar never went back to that. Anyway, for the class, I chose the off-roads. For the pricing, I chose $48,000. For the performance, I thought it should be up there with the Bodhi. And for customization, well, just like the Fortune, I believe it should just be basic. At number 8, we have the Beater Sabre. This car is going to be fun to talk about. Now, originally I was just going to use the regular Sabre, but when I remembered it had this variant, I figured it would be much more interesting to use. For its car class, I decided on muscle. For its pricing, I chose $1,000. For its performance, I believe it should have the speed and acceleration of the Buccaneer, but the handling of the Vajero. And for car customization, well, there's only going to be one thing to customize, and that will be the color of your car, that you can choose on the in-game website. And whatever color you choose, you're going to be stuck with, as you will not be allowed to respray it. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking at this point. Why on earth would I suggest such a vehicle? Well, 2 reasons. One, I figure that this car would be good for somebody on a tight budget, namely a beginner or somebody who has spent all their money. And 2, I just think it'd be funny as hell. Number 7. Liberty City Stories Manana. If you've played GTA 5, you probably know that the Manana is a large Cadillac-esque vehicle. However, back in the 3D era of GTA, the car was portrayed as a small compact. The primary design was based off of Plymouth Reliant. However, in the story spin-off, it was changed dramatically to that of a Chevy Cavalier convertible. And personally, I feel that would be the perfect car to add to GTA 5. For the car class, as you probably could have guessed, this is going to go into compacts. In terms of pricing, I'm going to say $30,000. Its performance should be a cross between the Prairie and the Ballista. As for the visual customization, I'm gonna say go all out on this one. Give it a carbon fiber hood, a full body kit, spoilers, and the convertible top should be some kind of animal print like zebra or leopard. Go crazy. Number 6. Classic Cheetah. Out of all the cars to appear in GTA, the Cheetah was one of the very few that didn't really change much from game to game. Well, that was until GTA 5 where it got a complete makeover. Now, while I have nothing against the new one, I kinda find myself missing the old model, and I wouldn't mind seeing it come back in a DLC. For its class, I'm gonna say supers, obviously. Since this is a super car, it's gonna have a super big price tag, a whopping $400,000. In terms of its performance, well, it is a Cheetah, albeit an older one, so I'm gonna say it's gonna be a little slower than the new one. And for its customization, I'm just gonna say add a spoiler because I can't think of anything else to do to it. Number 5. Vice City Banshee. Out of all the cars in GTA, probably none is more iconic than the Banshee, and for good reason. It's based off a Dodge Viper. However, when the game went back to the 80s in Vice City, the car had to be changed to fit the era. In this case, they turned it into a Chevrolet Corvette. After Vice City, Rockstar went back to using the Dodge Viper body style for the Banshee, and hasn't used the Corvette one ever since. I can only assume this has to do with Inverto. For those of you who don't know, Inverto is a car company whose vehicles are all largely based on the Corvette. My guess is Rockstar is afraid people might get them confused or something. Personally, I wouldn't. I also do not care. As far as car classes go, well, originally I was going to put it in muscle as it is an older American vehicle. But after thinking about it for a while, I decided it should go in sports. For its pricing, I would say $150,000. For its performance, well, it is a Banshee, so I imagine it would be similar, although be it a little bit slower than the new one. And as far as its visual customization, I'd say give it a spoiler and give it the option to remove the roof. Number 4. The Uranus. Out of all the cars to appear in GTA 4, this one is definitely one of my favorites. True, it was an average vehicle, but I still found it fun to use, and I wouldn't mind seeing it return in GTA 5. As for car classification, originally I was gonna put it in the compacts class. However, I ultimately decided against it and put it in the muscle one instead. As for why? Well, the car is actually just a little too big to be considered a compact. And 2, the car is based on a Mustang, and as we all know, Mustangs are considered muscle cars. As for price, I chose $15,000. As far as the performance goes, this car should be a cross between the Phoenix and the Ruiner. As far as visual customization goes, well, there is an alternate version of this car known as the Uranus Mark III, which has already been heavily modified, so just use the custom parts from that car. Number 3. The Deluxo. Out of all the cars introduced in GTA Vice City, the one everybody always remembers is the Deluxo, and for good reason. It's loosely based on the DeLorean. Now, just like with the Uranus, the Deluxo is one of those cars that could probably fit into almost any car category. But in the end, I ultimately decided it should go in the sports class. The pricing for the car is gonna be a whopping $200,000. For performance, I believe it should be somewhere between the Banshee and the Feltzer. For visual customization, I'm gonna say go all out. Body kit, carbon fiber hood, a lot of varieties for spoilers, maybe even some custom wheels that are unique to only the Deluxo. After being released on the PlayStation 3, GTA 5 was eventually ported over to the PlayStation 4. There, it received a graphical upgrade, exclusive features, and of course, exclusive cars. And among them was the Ballistic Compact. Naturally, a lot of people assumed that this car would go to the compacts class. But no, instead, Rockstar, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put it in the sports class. And people, including myself, had the following reaction.
Why? Why? Why?
Seriously though, why is this car in the sports class instead of the compacts class? I mean, nothing about this vehicle is sporty. It's been considered a compact ever since its introduction. And need I remind you, it's called the Ballista Compact. Ugh. Personally, I wish Rockstar would just move it over to the compacts class, which I imagine they could do by means of a patch or system update. But knowing Rockstar, that just seems unlikely. What is likely to happen, however, is the addition of another car by means of a DLC, and I know the perfect one. The Flash. This car is a small two-door hatchback, loosely based on the 90s style Honda Civic. It was also classified as a tuner vehicle, allowing it to be heavily modified. Now, for car classification, this should go in the compacts class. Obviously. For pricing, I believe that this should be in the $50,000 range. For performance, it should be right up there with the Rhapsody and the Panto. And for visual modifications, I believe that Rockstar should bring back everything that was available in San Andreas, including the body kits, the spoilers, and of course, those crazy graphics. And at number 1, it's the Vice City Infernus. You know, I'm beginning to think I should have called this list Revenge of the 80s, because so many of the cars come from that decade. Anyway, out of all the iterations of the Infernus, this one is hands down my favorite, if only because of the body styling. For car classification, this one goes in the Supers category, obviously. For pricing, I decided on $550,000. For performance, I believe it should be similar to the Infernus. And for car modifications, well, the only thing I could really think to do with it visually is just change up the spoiler, and that's it. So those were the top 10 cars that I would like to see added as downloadable content in GTA 5. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What cars do you believe should be added to this game? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.